Now that we know that Diddy won't be subpoenaed or the information provided by Keefe D used in the murder trial of Tupac Shakur, the question looming now is, will Suge Knight be subpoenaed, as he was the other person in the car while they were being shot at? Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into some of this straight game.
Life is like the cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy Delray Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time, ladies and gentlemen. Hit the thumbs up button. Also, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and click on what appears to be that little bell notification right below this video. I'm going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, recently the Las Vegas prosecutor in the case involving Tupac Shakur said that they would not be using the information provided by Keefe D that alleges that Sean P. Diddy Combs put $1 million hit out on Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight on that tragic night in Las Vegas on September 7th, 1996, ladies and gentlemen. So now that we understand that and what that means, Keefe D's attorney, Carl Arnold, has basically alluded to a few months ago that Suge Knight would be the person that could possibly get Keefe D free of possibly spending the rest of his life in a prison cell, based on the fact that, and this is the confusing part, because in 1 minute they're not going to use. I don't understand why they're not going to use the Keefe D story involving Diddy. They were hoping that Diddy would be convicted of the RICO and all of those other things, and I think that would put him in a more of a dire situation and made him more of a target to say, oh, look, he did this, so he must have did that. That didn't go as planned, and so they decided, hey, we're not going to use Diddy. They were going to subpoena him. Little did I know, but they're not going to subpoena him. They're not going to even use that testimony. That was one of the key catalysts that they were going to use. That was going to be their like opening argument as to the motive, as to why Tupac and Suge were shot, based on what Keefe D said. They're not going to use that. But Keefe D also said some things in reference to Suge Knight that were very interesting. And one of those things is that he alluded to seeing Suge Knight prior to the shooting, as Tupac and Suge were, I think, coming outside of the MGM Grand, out of the front entrance where, you know, you pull up and wait on your car if your car was valeted. And he said he had spoke to Suge and whatnot. And so that one incident, and also before the shots rang out, Keefe D had said and testified to the Las Vegas Metro Police Department, as well as the LAPD, in the presence of the United States federal government, in which we know that he was given not immunity, but a queen for a day deal in order to get a deal that avoided him from being prosecuted at that particular time, you know, back in the 90s, if you will. And so understanding that, the other person, the other key person, and I think which is very pertinent in this situation, who is in a situation in where he's doing 27 years. And so if you're going to pick your poison as far as who you want to deal with in regards to trying to come to testify, I always thought that Suge Knight would have been a better option based on the fact he was there. And Keefe D said in an interview with the police as well as the United States government that as they approached and pulled up on the BMW, that him and Suge Knight locked eyes, and it was asked, did Suge Knight recognize him? And say, yeah. He was like, me and Suge, we know each other since kids, and so on and so forth. And so, and then the shots rang out, but Keefe D said that him and Suge looked each other in the eyes before the shots rang out. Now, that's very poignant testimony. Keefe D's lawyer, Carl Arnold, basically said that, hey, you know what? They would love to have Suge Knight as a witness. I don't know what Suge Knight could offer to Keefe D other than to say basically, no, I didn't see him in the car. Suge Knight has testified that also that he's on various platforms that Baby Lane was not the shooter. And so, like I said, that adds a lot of confusion to what we thought we already knew, which we really truly don't know. But I'm wondering if they will basically subpoena Suge Knight in an effort to try to free Keefe D of these charges or allegations, if you will. Another key point to that, that would open up the line of questioning now if Suge Knight decided to do anything. I'm not saying that he would or he wouldn't. I don't know. But this is the rumblings in and around the Tupac situation, like I said. In Keefe D's book, he stated on the back of the book that he is like one of the only living people who could actually elaborate on the murder of Tupac Shakur. When he wrote the book, I don't think he was thinking about Suge Knight at that particular time. Being that Suge Knight is in a California state prison, and like I said, the Las Vegas situation, is it possible that some kind of situation could be worked out where Suge could possibly be granted an early release? Like I said, you can put nothing past the government from that perspective in trying to get a conviction in this Tupac case. Or do they even need Suge Knight? I can say almost for certain, if Suge Knight were to, and like I say, me personally, I just don't see him doing that. But like I said, you never know. I don't see him doing it. But this is the number one question that's now being asked across the internet in regards to this upcoming Tupac murder trial: is will they subpoena Suge Knight? Will they subpoena Suge Knight? Like I said, you've seen Suge Knight came up in the Diddy trial, right? And we never thought that in a million years that, from Cassie basically saying something in reference to Suge Knight, that Suge Knight would still be like the boogeyman in 2025 in relation to the Diddy situation. Me personally, I never thought that, but it did come up. And so all of the things that they tried to throw at Diddy during this trial, it didn't work. But one thing's for certain, Keefe D testified that him and Suge Knight locked eyes. If Suge Knight would have come testify that he's simply saying that he didn't see Keefe D when he looked in the car, if you will, that would be a sure slam dunk to say, hey, you know what? That if he said that he didn't see him in the car, then he wasn't there. Would Suge Knight do that against who he considers his little brother and being Tupac Shakur or someone or his artist? I don't think so, but this is what people are talking about on the internet right now. Will they call Suge Knight to testify? And so, like I said, in relation to that, like when you're dealing with this the Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. situation, in regards to the whole Tupac debacle and going in front of the grand jury once again, and what he called letting them know the climate of that time. It wasn't even so much as that. Like I said, we understand Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. as much as Suge Knight had done for him. And we know that he testified, basically told the police officers a few days after Tupac died, approximately 3 days after Tupac died, that Suge Knight was hiring gang members to be his security, and that they were carrying weapons. So much so that it led to a felony traffic stop, ladies and gentlemen. This is 3 days after Tupac died. And so, like I said, you're going to see people start to ramp up about the conversations. But like I said, the main conversation is, and even after Suge Knight has started to speak on various YouTube channels, The Art of Dialogue, Dave Mays, and whoever else that he's spoken on, Suge Knight has debunked a lot of the lies that Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. has told in the past. And so once again, we are back now to dealing with the truth, as you hear me say all the time here on Straight Game TV, in regards to the Tupac situation involving Suge Knight. And, you know, people had said that they thought Suge Knight set Tupac up. There's been so many rumors. But one thing's for certain is that there is a possibility that they would call Suge Knight, try to subpoena Suge Knight to come to testify on behalf of Keefe D, or testify as to what he saw and witnessed that night in Las Vegas. The question is, the $1 million question is would Suge Knight testify? And that's what we have. That remains to be seen, if you will. So like I said, ladies and gentlemen, chime in below, because it's going to heat up. But like I said, we're in July right now, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. We're not that far away. And it seems like time has just been flying, if you will. So like I said, what do you guys think? Do you think that they're going to subpoena Suge Knight? And if they do you think Suge Knight will testify? Or given some kind of deal or break, or if there was some kind of deal worked out with the California state government or prosecutors in relation to Suge Knight possibly testifying, and it could basically grant him some kind of early release or some kind of leniency with the California government, or should I say district attorney in his case. Like I said, chime in and tell me, guys, what you think about that. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Your boy Delray, Straight Game.
Life is like the cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother